What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll. We have an awesome show for you this week with some really cool guests. We'll get into some intros, let them get into their story and what they do. I am Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 20 years ago now. Tom, go ahead, take it away.
What's up, everybody? Tom Conaway, C6B, quadriplegic for the last 26 years, coming at you from sunny Southern California. Bobby?
Yeah, thanks, Tom. It is sunny outside. So I'm Bobby Rohan, C5 6 quad as well, 35 years post. And enough about us three. Let's get to know our guest here, first timers, right? I think.
Yeah. Well, they were on the Kelly was on the live in Phoenix when we were in Phoenix last year. We
Ah,
got to
that's
talk to him a little bit, but that was very brief. He only got a couple of minutes to share all the cool stuff he does. So got him back for the
yeah.
full show, and his wife Karen, who also helps with everything. So awesome.
So yeah, great to have Kelly and Karen here with us, and talking about some great products that they developed and do, and print right there in that room, I think. So take it away, Kelly.
Yeah, thanks for having us, guys. This is really cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. Introduce yourself.
So yeah, Kelly Ferguson, C5 quad, C5 6-ish, but C5 mainly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm his wife, Karen. I'm an L3 for paraplegic. And and I'm his wife.
And yeah,
Yeah.
basically, like around the shop, if I drop something or need a little help doing this or that, she's got my back.
Yeah, and it's fun. We bounce ideas off each other, like, what we think. And a lot of times it's me saying, we should do this thing. And Kelly says, no, that you cannot do that thing because he's an engineer and I am not. So there you go.
Well, then we figure out a way to do it.
Yeah. I'm like, make it pretty. No. Yeah.
Yeah, she's quality. She's quality control.
I am. I'm quality control.
You do have to have a quality control.
I like that.
So Kelly,
that's. Go ahead, Sean.
I was gonna say, so Kelly, you guys want to tell us a little bit about what you guys do at KFK Designs there, and kind of just kind of what it is for now, and then we'll get into like how you guys started and things like that. But
Oh, sure. Yeah, so KFK Designs, we do adaptive devices, primarily for anybody that has, limited hand function or weak grip. And then we've got a few other products for just more of a general wheelchair and getting around and life in a chair, basically. But so it started out, probably got my first 3D printer about 8 years ago. And it was one of those things where I was working on a prototype for a wheelchair design at that point, and I had paid a machinist to do all these parts for me. And then now that the technology had come along where I had a 3D printer, I could make all the parts myself. The printer basically paid for itself in like the first week I had it, just in the amount of money I saved not having it. And then not only that, but it was the time crunch. I was waiting weeks or months for these parts from this guy, and then here it is. I could have design a part and have it, in my little quad hands, and within an hour. Yeah. So it was a complete game changer.
So when you got the 3D printer, was it hard to figure out, or is it pretty? I've never worked with a 3D printer myself, but are they, is it a learning curve of any sort?
There is definitely a learning curve. I did a lot of research on which type of 3D printer I wanted to get before I, finally pulled the trigger. And I went with, at the time, it was a company called PrinterBot, and they had completely open source printers where you could use any software you wanted, any filament. And I really liked the design because it was wide open, and they actually encouraged their users to modify the printers. One of the first things I did was actually use the printer to make parts so I could enlarge the printer itself.
That's cool.
And so then it was just like, that was just opening Pandora's box. I had years and years of all these ideas for adaptive devices, and that's just kind of where it started.
Yeah, and when you have the engineering background too, he has a degree in mechanical engineering, so he's got that always got that mechanical, engineering mind of like, I want to make a a writing device or something to help me, and he can just kind of visualize it and then basically print it, like just create the thing that he's like visualized.
Yeah,
So
and
and know how to do it too.
yeah, so I had the the CAD and the 3D design
Mhm.
background, so that was a big, one big step that makes it a lot easier to do the
Yeah.
3D printing.
Yeah.
So you take the parts, and then it's all about figuring out the software. And again, that was a lot of trial and error, especially years ago when the machines were much more rudimentary, and I'd still say it's more of an art than a science at this point, but it has gotten a lot better.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
the two new printers I have are just twice as fast, way more reliable, and so it just makes it that much easier to crank out all the parts.
So did
Mhm.
you you were when you were injured, were you already did you graduate while you or like with that degree before your injury, or was that after? Did you get decide to do that,
I
or was it just always a passion?
So yeah, my freshman year, I went to Cal Poly, able-bodied, just like everybody else in the dorms, running around, climbing hills, doing all this stuff. And then hiking, surfing, all that good stuff. And then the summer between my freshman and sophomore years, I took a summer job in construction to pay the bills. Working one summer, I could make enough money to pay for tuition and rent and everything for the whole year. And so I was out there working the construction job, and then that's when I got hurt. Got hurt on the job, and so that was, rather than going back to my sophomore year like everybody else, I went to rehab, and then so I did about 5 months in rehab, and then got stabilized enough that I could make it back to college and meet up with all my friends and everything. And so sophomore year in the spring is when I went back to school, and then took probably a few years longer than it should have, but I did get my degree, and I graduated with everybody else that I started with too.
Oh, cool.
Really cool.
And there's a little funny story, a little anecdote about your rehab. You actually did your rehabilitation with another friend of the show, Mark Fugelvand. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, for sure. So I had been working up in Utah, and so like the first month of acute rehab I did up there, and then they flew back to LA, and Daniel Freeman, that was the closest rehab that I had family around, and sure enough, there's Mark's, and then he and I were in rehab together and went through all the highs and lows and the ups and downs. And it was one of those things where, for me, I was just motivated to get like back to school and get back to the life that I had been living.
Yeah.
And so he and I just kind of parted ways, and you're that new into the injury. It's like your whole life's in free fall.
You got a lot on your mind rather than worrying about making a great friendship here. It's somebody you know for the rest of your life, but still, you had a lot on your plate.
Yeah, and I think now that so much time has passed, it's a lot easier to think about those first dark months and everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, at the time I was just like, let's just keep moving forward. But then when Karen and I, we set up our booth for the Phoenix Abilities Expo, and two or three, everybody kept coming up to me and asking me if I know Mark Fugelvand, this guy named Mark Fugelvand. And the first time I'm like, oh yeah, I know him. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then they're like, and then two or three more people come up, and I'm like starting to look around.
What is going on?
I'm looking around for like hidden cameras and stuff. I'm like, what is, yeah. And then it was almost like a Fight Club situation where it like he's Tyler Durden and I'm Edward Norton kind of thing.
That's great.
And so eventually, it turns out that he was at the Phoenix Expo the year before with a booth doing the exact same thing. And so he and I had been, living these two parallel lives. And so it was really cool to get back in touch with him and then meet up with him in LA for sure.
So that was the
Yeah,
first
that's
time you
pretty-
had reconnected with him, was in LA just last month?
Yeah.
That's so cool, yeah.
Which is funny. And I know Kelly, it took me a while to, once Mark said, hey, you met Kelly a long time ago. And I'm like, I did. He's like, yeah, when you and Michelle came in and did your support group for Wings, you were in our support group as well. So
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We had met a long time ago. So I don't know if you remember. And, I don't remember every single person that comes to our support groups, but because obviously you all look, or everyone looks, thin, white, pale, deer in the headlights kind of look. And then, once you get out of rehab and start getting healthier and back into life and a little color, everyone looks completely different rather than being in hospital pants or, sweats and, your raggedy old shirt.
A big gate belt tied around your chest.
Yeah.
And maybe some kind of collar or something on your
That's
neck
true.
to support it.
Plus, I had a lot more hair back then, right about down to here.
Your long flowing
Yeah,
hair.
definitely a thing of the past.
So did you,
What was that?
just out of curiosity, did you keep the long locks after your injury for a while? I feel like as a quad, long hair is just hard to manage, but
I
was
did.
curious.
I figured I was going to enjoy it while I could. And I think that was one of the first adaptive things in rehab was the little, they had that cuff with the Velcro on it. And you stick whatever you wanted in there, a comb, a toothbrush, or whatever. And I comb my long, luxurious hair while I still had it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely you're only young once, because when you get older like me, it tends to disappear on you, and you're end up like this. And
Yep.
so
What
wanted to go back a little. Oh, go ahead, Tom.
What was the transition like right after your injury? You said you were very eager to try to get back to like normal life. How long did it take you to get back to school? Were you able to transition to kind of an independent living situation, or was it like a few years of figuring out, how to live again? And once you were done with school, did you start getting into doing the adaptive technology, or did you take your engineering stuff somewhere else first?
So yeah, I did 5 months of rehab and then a month back home. And then I went right back to school. So it was 6 months after my injury. And I was a little lucky because it was all through workers' comp. So I could have 24-hour care when I needed it those first, probably for the first year. And then it was at the point where I don't need this much care. It's like, it was very, here I'm this college kid and I've got these, nurses and people hanging around all the time. I'm like, I need some independence. And that was probably one of the toughest things to deal with, is because I had been so independent up to that point. And here I was, dependent on anybody to do anything. And so I'd say, 6 months I went back to Cal Poly and I stayed in the dorms for that spring and that summer session. And then in the fall, I was able to find the one accessible apartment in all of the whole town, and accessible. We're going to use air quotes just because it's on the ground floor.
Yeah.
And so, because I had the not live-in aids, but I had the aids for about 12 hours in the evening and in the morning. And then during the day, I had my power chair and I'd, zip around school. And then in the afternoon, I'd get back and then I transfer from the power chair into my manual chair there at the apartment. And so that's pretty much how I, navigated the last 4 years of school. And then, when I graduated, I didn't set out to do adaptive devices right off the bat. I mean, wanted to go out and actually, at least get a a good steady job going, and then maybe do something on the side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I interviewed all up and down the coast and everything. And this was just when the economy was not doing so well.
Exactly.
And so it was one of those things where I just decided, you know what, just throw a dart at a dartboard and decide where to go. And I'm like, you know what, San Diego is nice and warm, and I don't have to worry. And it's like, it seemed like a pretty good job market and everything. So I moved down there, and I actually worked mainly as like a consultant at that point. And there was a company that was based in El Cajon that did an adaptive gym system. And so I worked with them for a little while on kind of like fine tuning little components and things like that.
Was it the upper tone?
Yeah. Yep.
That's crazy. I've had an upper tone for most of my injury. That's a great machine. That's really cool that you.
Yeah, I had one just out of rehab, and it was so. But I said out the apartment there, and while I was going to school, I never had any room to actually set it up. It just sat in the box for years and years. Oh, and when I finally moved down to San Diego, then I set it up, and I'm like, wait a minute, these guys are right in my back door, right in my backyard. So I went and talked with them and worked with them for a little while.
I use an upper tone several times a week too, and it's like one of my favorite pieces of equipment to use. It's like super versatile. I can get a bunch of different exercises done on it. So that's cool to know that you are parts of, making it more quad friendly maybe, because it's one of the more quad friendly exercise devices out there.
It definitely is.
That's very cool.
Yeah, and then working with them, that's kind of what spurred me to think about doing more adaptive devices. But at the time, without the 3D printing or anything, there was just really no outlet for it that I could do feasibly. And then met a certain someone, and then we moved up here to the Central Coast. Yeah. And then that's about the time we got the printer, and just started going from there.
So, you mentioned that you got the 3D printer because of chair design you were working on. Did that ever come about? Did you ever design your chair, or?
No, it's one of those things. That's like one of those side back projects that I've just been kind of like. It's funny because when I first got hurt, this was before they had the magic wheels or any of that. I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have like a geared wheelchair wheel, a manual wheelchair wheel, where you could, you get like a 10-speed bike where that was one of the senior projects that my roommate and I worked on before we graduated, was coming up with something like that. Mm-hmm. And so, I wanted it so that you could actually, just by pushing differently on the push rooms, you could shift it from 1-to-1 to 2-to-1 or something like that.
That'd be cool.
And so that's where I started out with the design. And then I realized, and then I went, started doing like a patent search, and I went with an attorney here in town. And the way I had done it had already been patented by, a couple people in Sweden. And then but they let it lapse. So it just became part of the, it was kind of those good news, bad news things where I could be free to, follow that design, but I wouldn't be able to patent it myself. And so at that point, I just kind of abandoned that. Mm-hmm. But and then the row wheels came out, which are very similar in that design. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where I've always kind of wanted to circle back to that at some point, where I gave up on, because I was going to have two different push rooms at one point where it's a 1-to-1, and then the secondary push room would give you like a 2-to-1 ratio or whatever you wanted. And then it always comes down to just too much weight. Like I got a pair of the magic wheels because I thought, they beat me to the punch, that's already out on the market. And those things were like, it was like pushing on a tank. They're like 12 pounds each for each wheel. It was just a really,
and they weren't very, they didn't move very well. It just seemed like you were doing more pushing than anything, because it was like, what? It just because there was no coast to it. You couldn't push and then move. You died right away. Yeah,
so that was always one of those things where it's like my little, like, eventually I'll circle back around to it and take another stab at that. But in the meantime, I've also been thinking about different just wheelchair configurations where instead of almost like a chain drive type configuration where you've got larger wheels in the front, because and then let's see, and also like maybe and then a giant omni wheel in the back, and sort of pivot almost like a like if you were pushing around on a forklift or something, so it would steer differently. And then you'd have the big wheels up front to go over obstacles and any kind of rough terrain and things like that. Because that's, for me, the casters up front, the smaller casters are always what's getting caught. And if I want to do any, any off-roading or anything like that, it's always a hassle.
Go back to the old school days, because I have a chair from the 1800s, and the big wheels are in front and one big wheel in the, or a wheel in the back, not as big as the two front. The engineering part I always saw in that, which I always thought was a better idea, is, my wife's like, why don't they do it? And I'm like, because getting into it would be a hassle with those big wheels in the front. So the transfer, inches. Yeah. So, but if you can come up with something, I think it would be a brilliant idea.
The one I'm working on has big front wheels, but they're small enough to fit under the seat. So they're actually tucked under the, so when you roll up to a bed or something, you're flush with the, with whatever you're going to transfer to. And then the other thing is the push rims will disconnect and get out of your way. So it makes it easier to transfer.
Oh,
so
cool.
That's the big side project I've been working on.
The ever looming side project that haunts our dreams. Yes. Yeah.
Tom, what were you gonna ask?
It's okay. I lost track of it, but I do want to give a big shout out to a really great friend of the show, Mr. Wheels. Happy 33rd birthday today, buddy, man. That's a big one, dude. I'll give you a call after the show. And we just want to say, love you, man. Happy birthday. Hope you're having a great day. I think the 3D printed stuff is super amazing. I love the fact that you guys can do it kind of, in-house. And the fact that, and it's just like Mark and his design, like the things that you guys engineer and come up with, just... You could tell they come from a quad. Like, I don't know, I've seen and experienced so many adaptive tools my whole life, whether it's from OTs or PTs or just things I've seen and stuff. And very, very few things are just as thought out and fleshed out and as nuanced as what you guys describe and what you create, because you're living it and experience it every day, which I think is just very, very cool. And I remember like the first thing that really caught my vision was this cool like gaming adaptive gaming setup you had, like the assistive device on the controller. And I was like, oh, like, I don't know, I'm a big gamer, so it was one of the first things that popped out to me. And I just thought it was really intuitive and very innovative and super cool. So what is the process of developing and making something like that?
Can you
time-wise?
So it's, for the quad gamer itself, the controller, I started out way back on the PS3. And that was when I got invited to my same friend from college. He had his bachelor party, and there was, they had a big screen TV set up, and they were all playing like, I think it was Resistance on the PS3. And they have all the controllers, and they were like handing them back and forth and playing. And then there I was, couldn't do anything because I couldn't handle all the triggers and the buttons and all the different things. So and so this goes way back to way before my first 3D printer. I bought a PlayStation 3 just to force myself.
We made it all out of Legos
to come up with a.
That is awesome. Out of
Legos, yeah.
And when you put them side by side, it's the same configuration as the one I'm doing now with the 3D printing.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah, and then here's our like latest iteration of it with the 3D printed part. So it's, you can see the similarities.
Because it does the same functions.
It does the exact same stuff, but yeah, and it's all.
I can see the evolution. one's a lot
Right?
sleeker. It's a lot sexier, you know, like with the development of the controllers and stuff. Like, so it fits, and it seems very, very cool. And I got a chance to play with it and use it too, and it's super intuitive and really, really functional.
Yeah.
I like it because you're using the controller pretty much the way you would um, if your hands were fully functional.
Yeah.
Because it's got all the buttons in the same layouts and everything, and you can use the analog stick and still hit the fire buttons or the triggers pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So you use that. You set it on your lap. Is if you're
Correct.
playing, and I don't know. Is there a way we can see it in your on your lap with you how you would just? Yeah, I'm just curious because when you say it, it would be like if you had.
He puts it on his lap, like on his little like lappy tray thing, and then
I've got like this.
Yeah.
And I've got the two analog sticks here, and I can go bang, hear that, or up here on the button over here.
Oh, okay, now I get it. Yeah.
Now my feet.
I
And
get
then
those all day too, man.
Analog stick, hit these little buttons down here too.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, that
sweet.
thing's really
Okay.
cool, and you can totally see the
don't know.
similarity. But like, it's just a lot, like Tom said, it's a lot sleeker, you know, and like just prettier looking. But that Lego one is awesome. It's so
I
cool
know,
that you're
right?
able
This
to
is
do that.
That's very steampunk.
it is.
It's
But it's
really
just, you
cool.
know, the same kind of, you know, same kind of stuff.
I know Lego's got to make an adaptive technology toolkit where kids can
Right?
build little adaptive tools for good stuff.
So
Really.
was that your first design for the 3D printer, or?
Actually, the first one was grab the knuckles, the
Yeah, the
brass
writing
knuckles.
aid, yeah.
So when I was still in rehab, I had an OT. I wasn't happy with any of the writing splints that they had in the OT department. They were all too they just didn't hold the pen like I would normally. Let me see this.
Yeah. Get those little quad hands.
And so one of the first things I had, one of the OTs, they had like the flexible plastic that they would heat up, and then you could mold it to any shape you wanted to. And so I had her mold it to this kind of shape here to hold the pen for me. And I had that little adapter all through college. And then
you wore it down to a little nub.
It was a little nub, like each of these little
It was like a little nub.
each of these little like loops broke off at some point, and it was finally just a little nubbin that I would like cling to while I was writing and drawing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so when I got the printer, that was the very first thing I did was print.
I got to make a writing aid. Yeah.
Yeah. And so,
So,
and then,
So
It was
Kelly,
basically,
a long time ago, my dad and I designed. You know, we're not designers, but you know, I didn't want to use the big cuff that they gave me for eating or writing. You know, where you can put it, you know, the fork in there or a pen or pencil there. And one day I was looking at somebody's ring on their finger, and kind of like that same concept, but you know, I used one ring and welded on a piece where you can put a pen or a pencil, and then just tighten it up in that little. So it was like one ring on your finger, and then a little attachment where you put the pen and the pencil in, and then you can write like that. And then for eating, we just soldered on two rings, one on the top, one on the bottom, for a fork or a spoon. And so then I would just put my fingers in there. And so we had that for, and then eventually I saw someone selling it, or some company selling, you know, with that type. But I worked at Rancho for a while, and I told him about it. So he made one of them on a 3D printer. So, which was pretty cool. Yeah, but same design where you're just thinking about putting rings on your fingers, and it makes so much more sense.
Yeah. What's interesting is I found that that works really well for me, but I found that when I take it and sell it to some people, it didn't quite work for them. And so I decided to come up with a second design, which is one that just slips on your hand.
Oh, that's cool.
So
cuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I try not to fall in love with my designs. It's like I'm always open for
I know. We love the feedback.
Constructive feedback or anything like that. And then it's like I call it the bane of being an engineer. It's like every design can always be better. No matter how
That's-
far I bring it
yeah.
along, I'm always like, well, I could optimize this one little screw, or I could change this one little thing to make it a little bit better. But that's
Have you ever
so that's kind of
have you ever did anything custom for anyone? Like where they're like, hey, it'd be really great if I had just this.
grab the thimble
Oh
one.
yeah, the thimble one.
So we do, if anybody has a custom request,
Yeah.
we were at the Abilities Expo, and we had all of our different styluses there, and it wouldn't work for this one person in the chair. They wanted to use their index finger on a stylus as a stylus or on a phone or something. And I told them just take down my website address and give me a couple weeks, and then I'll come up with something like this that sticks to your finger right there.
Yeah, and then it's like adjustable, so it'll fit like any finger. So it's got like this little like adjustable bits in there that will fit my giant man fingers, and then so we did that.
So yeah, it's just a matter of like if somebody needs something custom, that's no problem.
If we get measurements from somebody, we can make anything. Yeah, make anything adaptable to them. Yeah, and we make cute little tiny kid sizes of like the cuffs. So we make tiny little kid sizes, and like we make even like the little knuckle ones for kids too. So we make tiny versions, and
that was one of the big things of feedback we got from Phoenix. Yeah. Everybody kept calling by and like, Ray, you have all this adult size
stuff, but what about kids? And we're like, kids, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was big. We started doing like we have our silverware set for adults, and then we have our like kid one, which is teeny tiny and colorful little one. So yeah.
I was in my adolescence and working with like my OT in particular. Like it was like making a lot of stuff out of like that moldable putty and things like that, because most of the stuff that was made or manufactured were like too big for my tiny hands at the time. So I think that's super cool that you guys like thought of that, and I made it because I think it could be super transformative for a young kid who's learning how to write for the first time, using quad hands or something. So it's super, super cool.
Yeah.
And especially with the gaming controller, it was so cool to since we had the demo set up there, these little kids who had never been able to play video games, they watched their siblings.
Older siblings do it, and they're like, I want to do it too, and then they can, and it's just like.
And so that's one of the things I'm going to try to do is almost like a controller that starts out kind of basic, and then you could add, as someone gets older, they can add more buttons and more options. I'm trying to make, with the controllers and with almost all of my designs, everything a little more modular. Mm-hmm. And so, especially with the controller with the kids, they'll be able to, when they start young, it's almost like a simple Nintendo, the old Nintendo, where they just have the one joystick, and then as they get
that's my speed.
And then as they get more, older and playing more in-depth games, they can add on the different components.
I'm not like Tom. I'm that basic. Just give me an A and a B button, and I'm good. That's all. That's about as technical I get with gaming. But Tom here, man, he's pretty.
I grew up mostly on Nintendo devices, and they were like pretty small, like especially like the Game Boys and stuff. Like my parents would get them all for like me and my brother and my sister, and we jam on them. So I was kind of used to playing with like little buttons. But that's what I found now, especially is like, I know Nintendo is probably one of the least accessible gaming systems, even though it's probably the most popular one around the world. It has the smallest, tiniest, most inaccessible buttons, and to my knowledge, no accessible controllers, options, features, or functions. So that's sort of something I've thought about too, and especially when it comes to like gaming and stuff. For particularly like the younger generation, younger kids trying to, because those are usually the systems they're on, and there's really nothing in the way of accessibility for that. I love it. I love it, Kelly. I'll talk to you.
Just finished up the Xbox version of the Quad Gamer, and then next is the Switch, because the Switch has they have the controllers that mimic the DualSense, and so it's just a matter of configuring that to work with the
That'll be cool.
And then we when we were at the LA Expo, we got a lot of feedback where people were saying, why don't So you're at the Abilities Expo. Why don't you go to gaming expos and kind of, because there might be people, with disabilities who have they're gamers, but they don't know that the technology's out there. And so we signed up for the SoCal, I think it's the Retro Gaming Expo in Pasadena in June. So it'll be interesting to take the controllers down there and set them up and just kind of at least get the word out that there's some options for everybody.
Definitely.
What's nice about
Go ahead, Bobby.
what's nice about it is where I've, when my grandson first got into gaming a long time ago, I was, I said, oh, let me see if I can find something out there. And these control boxes were huge, big, and very expensive. What's cool about this design is it just fits right on any controller, and you don't have to have this big box, and you can still just use what, they feel a little bit like they're friends that, hey, I need a little adaptive thing on this, not a big box that you're, carrying around from a friend's house to a friend's house, So that's a cool thing about your design.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely a huge market too, because there's just like with everything. I think nowadays there's just a lot more awareness surrounding accessibility and inclusion for all parties involved. And I don't even like at the gaming awards and stuff. There's a lot of like accessibility going into the software side of games, as long as like stuff like you're developing, mechanical adaptive systems and stuff too. But it's very, very cool. And I think definitely a big market out there for lots of different kinds of devices. You know, what is one of your favorite designs? What's one of your favorite tools that you developed? Is there a particular one that we haven't seen yet?
Yeah, for me, it's the chopsticks.
So.
Like that when I got hurt, I'm like, well, I'm never gonna be able to use chopsticks ever again.
Exactly.
And I always loved going out for
sushi.
And so again, it was one of those things where before the 3D printer, I went on Amazon and they have those little chopstick cheaters that you can buy that kind of hold the chopsticks for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took a rubber band and wrapped it around that so that it always kept them closed. And then I would just open it with my hands and grab whatever I wanted, and then the rubber band would close it. And so I think this was probably the second thing I did with the 3D printer. It was like, I'm gonna make some chopsticks.
Very important. Yeah.
And so every time we go out for sushi, I get to break these out, put them together. Yeah. And I figured if I was gonna make my own chopsticks, put these little hooks on the end too, so you got the grip.
So it works by you have to just use your other hand to open it, and then it closes on its own.
Use your other chin or what, something. Yeah. So your other wrist. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's super amazing. It's like I've gone to sushi restaurants and stuff my whole life, and never would I think that a quad would be able to wield those bad boys. But that's super simple, super intuitive. I can imagine pushing my cheek up against it to grab a piece of sushi, just like you demonstrated. That's amazing, dude. That's really cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of your products, and I noticed there's a couple little similar products that you have same as Mark, but really you guys had a lot of different products, and so that was kind of like, oh, cool. That's you guys know each other, but had a lot of different products. And I know when you stopped me at the Abilities Expo, and we were right across from each other, but I wasn't there most of the time at our booth. I was either gabbing or helping out Kelly Brush Foundation. But you finally you stopped me right at the end there at 5 o'clock on Sunday or 4 o'clock on Sunday, and you're like, hey, what do you think about this? And I thought that reacher that you showed me was pretty darn amazing. That was pretty cool. I'm not as talented as Tom with my own. Tom does a normal reacher, but that one I'm like, okay, now we're talking. Now you're in my game.
Yeah, just within like the last 3 months I came up with that. It was one of those deals where
Yes.
I wish I'd come up with this like
Our grip-free grabber.
wish I'd come up with this like
Yeah, like
20 years ago, but all these years I've never, I drop something on the floor, and unless it's magnetic
Back up again.
or metallic, I'm not no way I can pick it up with a regular grabber.
Yeah. Demonstrate the
Right.
I don't know if I can get
grabber.
that, but so then I think what I did is I went on Amazon and I bought about 4 or 5
Yeah.
different types of grabbers. Same deal with the PlayStation. I just bought a bunch, and so there's no trigger to pull, no finger motion. You just push down on one end and it opens up.
Yeah, and with the other hand, it's nice that you got that good holder.
And then I've also changed around the little handle design. If you got the other one over there.
Oh yeah.
And that's the other thing with the feedback from Billy's Expo. We decided rather than have that little open cuff, now I
Now we have
changed
like
it
an
up.
adjustable
Oh, cool.
that you can like slide around to wherever you need it.
And then you can pull up or down with the handle, and
it kind of locks it in place. So then you can move this wherever you want it, if you need it down lower or higher or whatever. And then it's still the same mechanism where you just have to push the plunger, and then it's going to automatically, it's always going to be in the pinched position. So it's always going to be tight. And then you just have to plunge it, and then it's going to open out, and then boom. And then you just release, and then it closes it. So, yay.
And then, that was,
That's awesome.
I still want to do the other, maybe one more version of that, where the one drawback to that is you can't collapse it down into a smaller size.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to try to do another version where it can collapse, and rather than plunging down, you would hold it with one hand, so you can reach up and around, and then you'd almost use like a pull, like a drawstring or something to open and close it, just like you'd start like a snowmobile or a lawnmower or something like that. And so that's one of the other little side projects I've been tinkering with.
That's really cool.
I've seen so many different versions and so many different types of grabbers and tools and stuff, and I think it's just really awesome and exciting because every disability is a little bit different. What might be intuitive or easy or functional for somebody else, even with a similar type of disability, may not be for this different person that grew up doing something different. Maybe it's just slightly less functional on one side or one different way than the other person. And the fact that there's so many options out there, the fact that you engineered so much adjustability and customizability into your design and stuff, I think is really cool and awesome and meaningful when it comes to finding these kinds of tools and stuff. So it's very, very cool. I got a question for you. What is your opinion on the accessibility to assistive devices like this nowadays? Like, I don't know, I see and have seen so many different kinds of tools my whole life, and they seem so cool. Many of them seem like too expensive or too impractical, or at least like the price range has been like the biggest thing that I have seen and experienced and thought about when it comes to gaining access to this kind of technology. The fact that you're 3D printing it in your house, is it making it more affordable? Do you work on making it affordable? What is your opinion on all that?
Oh yeah, definitely. We keep the prices as low as possible.
As low as we can, so we can do it.
And then having the 3D printer is key because we're in control of the production. I don't have to pay thousands of dollars to have a mold made for each part. And if I want to change that part for make a custom design for somebody, I don't have to go through the whole process of getting a whole new mold. You just print it out right there, and it's ready to go. And so especially like the adaptive gaming stuff can get super expensive. And so the controllers, when you buy the Quad Gamer, you get the brand new controller included in the price.
Wow.
And so that's $70 right there off the top.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want to be able to get these out there and have people actually enjoy them
and not have to worry about the burden of it being like
and
expensive.
And then the rest of our items as well. The other thing I've started to do, like I mentioned is trying to make things modular. Can you grab that?
Oh yeah.
And so I came up with one of our new items.
Slide.
One of our new items is a multi-adapter. So rather than buying one, say you need a key turn and a stylus and a writing aid, rather than buying all of those individually.
Yeah, so you can like slide. So this is like now it's like a writing aid. So, and then you can slide the writing aid part out. So then you're left with just the cuff part, and then you can put in like, where's this little one?
Oh,
so then you can put in, have like a spoon, which comes with the little like inserty bit, and then you just slide that in, and then it becomes like a spoon or whatever. And we sell these all together, so it's like a writing aid, a key turn, so here's like our multiple key ones. So you can take this out.
Theoretically.
Of a concept that's like fully interchangeable with different adaptive devices.
Yeah, so it's all, and then it comes in a set.
Cool.
So it's all together. Stylus, all of our things in one, and then you get the cuff. So.
Oh, that's incredible. What were you saying, Tom?
No, that's the first time I've ever seen a modular device like that, where it's not like all fully proprietary, like you can swap something out and stuff, like you don't even maybe 3D print like a whole new thing for yourself and shove it in there and have like, I just think that's really cool. Like I've seen a lot of adaptive devices. I've never ever seen one that swaps like that is 5-in-1, which is really awesome.
It really is cool.
So I love that. They're like really simple, intuitive ways to reduce costs and make things more accessible for people. And yeah, it's the first time I've ever seen that. So very cool.
Yeah, that's right.
There was a question from Renee wondering what the process is like when coming up with these unique inventions.
So mostly it's just out of necessity. Mm-hmm. Can you grab? It's way on the other side. I've got my knife one back there somewhere. And so there's a lot of these that are just the devices I have on the website. There's a bunch of stuff I have at the house where it's funny. I'll like every weekend I'll what is bugging me the most right now about getting around doing things day to day, and then I'll spend that one day just trying to figure out a way to fix that one issue. So, one weekend it was the grabber. I'm like, I've got all these years without being able to pick something up. I'm going to force myself to figure out a way to do the grabber to where I can actually use it and pick up things. And so, did you get them?
I found tongs.
Oh yeah. And so I've gotten into cooking and all kinds of other things.
I found your tong thing.
And so I've been like it's just taking a problem and trying to figure out the best way to solve it. This is another. So I've gotten really into cooking over the last couple of years, and tongs are, just impossible for me to use. I wish I had that my little hot dog one.
Oh, the hot dog one.
But so this is basically a tongs version of the chopsticks. Yeah. And so it's just a matter of I've got it to this point where they'll clamp on their own, and then it's just a matter of working out a good way to do it so that they unclamp when I need them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then that's the cup holder.
Yeah, and so it just kind of doing it's called design iterations, basically, where you start with one idea, figure out what works, what doesn't work. And that's the really beauty of having the 3D printers is that I can have these parts going while, one part for a project going while I'm designing another part, and then it's ready to go right there.
That's so
cool. And organize that. It's not going to be like a killer when you make something and you're like, oh, wrong size, or too big, too small.
Yeah, I've done that though, where it's like I've gotten there's the old adage, measure twice, cut once. Yeah. Where I'll just assume that I've got the right thing and I'll print it up and I'm like, well, I should have measured that before I printed it up. I have to print it again.
And you got like a pile of like discarded prints. It's like,
Yeah,
but it's not the end of the world though, because you can just.
Well, I'm trying to get to the point where I'm using more than 50% of the parts I print out. Where if less than 50% end up in the trash, then I'm doing pretty
go back
good.
to the drawing board and start designing again. Yeah.
I wish we had a big picture when I was working on the Xbox.
Yeah, it's on our Instagram.
I had on our Instagram feed just a big pile of all the parts that didn't quite work out for one reason or another.
And
And
if
so
you
you
guys
just
want to
like,
check
well,
out, I was gonna say their
change like
Instagram
one
is down
millimeter.
below. If you guys want to look at those pictures or check it out, and you guys' website link, if you do want to check out any of their products, all the info is down below in the description. So make sure to click and follow and check out the site.
And I asked the question about the pricing stuff earlier because I think it's just such an important uh, thing in regards to accessible tools and technology. I can personally attest. I've checked out the prices and the tools and stuff. They're super affordable, very accessible. So I really encourage you guys to go check it out. If there's something that you think could help improve your day-to-day life, be it a little tiny accessible tool, go for it. Give it a try. I really encourage you to, because there's a dozen different ones that I use day in and day out that make a big difference in my life overall. So really appreciate you, Kelly, and your wife for taking this on and being a part of it. Like, I think it's so cool. I think it's really important to make the world more accessible. And it's a lot easier nowadays than it ever has been. But nonetheless, it still takes a lot of work and a lot of time and a lot of knowledge and skill. So I appreciate you guys dedicating yourselves to that venture and working so hard to support our community in that way. I think it's really, really awesome. Do we want to shout out? Do we want to shout out our sponsors real quick, Shawn?
Yeah, we are getting into the end of the hour here, so
Or we run out the hour. Big shout out to mobility professionals, urology professionals. Mobility professionals can help you out with all your wheelchairs, durable medical equipment, standing frames, and the like. If you're lucky enough to be in the beautiful Southern California area, they can help get you in the right chair the first time, help get you fit, help keep you comfy, and work with you and your insurance to make sure it's all right. And the process is as easy, as simple as possible. And similarly, their sister company, Urology Professionals, is national. So if you are anywhere in the U.S. and you're in the need of urological supplies, catheter supplies, and their related accoutrement to catheterizing, go and give them some love. Again, they're just individuals of our community, in support of our community, and can help work with you and your insurance to navigate the process and get this stuff to little to no cost to you as possible. So go give them some love, and thank you for all the support these last few years. You two beautiful companies.
Yeah, we really do appreciate our sponsors, and thank you everybody in the chat as well. You guys are the support from everybody watching in the chat and everything is also what keeps us going, keeps us doing this every week. So thank you guys.
This is something I like to ask at the end of the show, guys. For Kelly and Karen, both tackle it if you want. Do you have any advice for individuals maybe watching this video to learn about independent living, learn about navigating this disability life? Do you have any general advice you like to give to people, maybe even newly or more newly injured individuals that are taking this journey for the first time?
Advice? Oh man,
Go for it.
I don't know. It's one of those things where, for me, it was like I said, it was just coming to grips with the fact that I couldn't be as independent as I had been, but then also realizing that I can do way more than ever thought I could, especially right out of rehab. It was one of those things where and then you just have to have a lot more patience, basically, because I can do quite a bit. It just takes a little bit longer.
Yep.
And then just trying to, there's other things where it's like there was some issues where I thought, man, I'll never be able to do that. And then eventually you just have to force yourself to figure out a way to do it. And then more often than not, you'll come up with a solution.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it'll be a quick question, but when you're not designing and doing all these great products, what are you doing on the side, traveling? What's life like up there in Morro Bay, and a little bit of other stuff?
So we just got back from Dallas. We flew over there to see the eclipse this year, and
Oh, yeah.
that was
That was really fun. So yeah, we love to travel. We're big travelers, so we've been
although we did
traveling lately.
flew to Vegas for Christmas. They just happened to have direct flights from San Luis to Vegas, and and it was only a limited time. They just stopped the service, so we're like, let's fly directly to Vegas while we have the chance, and see how that goes. And so, an hour and 10 minutes on a plane instead of like 8 hours.
Yeah.
Because driving from here, it's really a circuitous way to get there.
You got to take the loop.
Yeah, it ends up being like there's no straight line, and then you got to deal with the some sketchy roads and almost get driven off the road by semi trucks and stuff. And then, but yeah, those are the two big trips we've taken recently. And then, other than that, I've got this room right here is basically the engineering side of things. The other suite is my art studio, and so. If you go on the website, I've got one little page that has a lot of the abstract acrylic paintings I've done. And then I've got another page that has some of the cartoons that, for years and years, I tried to become a syndicated cartoonist. Figured.
You're very funny.
Well, yeah, I just couldn't convince any editors of the fact that I was. So, so I've got like tons of these cartoons that I came up with over the years. And I found a company that you can print them out on canvas, and so people can order those from the website as well.
That's
and
cool.
Then
and then you'd also do 3D printed art.
Well, and that was the other thing. Now with the 3D printers, I decided, hey, why not use these for some sculpture? Because I figured with my little quad hands, I'd never be able to sculpt anything again. But now I can use the printer to actually spit out these three-dimensional sculptures. And I've got some of those.
Yeah.
They're also on the oh yeah, grab.
They're cool.
So I've got some of those on the website, and then that's. Other than that, running around with the.
There's some art. Art.
That's amazing. I'd hang that up in my apartment. Too sweet. I swear.
Oh, that's cool. Multi-talented.
We had it. I know, engineer, artist, extraordinaire. I think that's really amazing, Kelly. I got another question from the chat.
Yeah.
And husband. Definitely don't forget all that.
He's a good dad too.
Oh yeah, and then besides the the art and like I said, I've gotten really into cooking, so I'll crank out dinner.
You're a good cook too.
Dinner each night.
Yes, cooking. Yes.
And so that's one of the things I want to start doing. Is maybe like a YouTube channel or something where it's actually a C5 quad cooking up these different meals.
Yeah, at our house too. Our house is like
it took a good solid year to get the kitchen and the bathrooms and everything remodeled.
We've done some pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, well, when you perfect cook your tongs, let me know, because I always need a good pair of tongs for the barbecue. And the one I got, it's from the gentleman from Quad Tools, but they're huge. And and it's a little bit too much of a tong.
Yes, everything he does is definitely bulletproof. It's meant to last.
Yeah. I've done a bunch of cooking content on here, showing off how I cook and showing accessible ways to feed yourself and survive if you live on your own. And I've been wanting to get back to that content, thinking about how to expand upon it. And maybe have you come on or set up a camera in your kitchen and cook with me, Kelly, because I'd love to check it out and see how another quad does it too.
Very cool. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
And like I said,
there's stuff I used to cook. There's stuff I used to cook that I don't have on the website, and like my little Tupperware storage stuff and just little things to make it easier to get things in and out of the fridge too. Mm-hmm. And so it'd be fun to kind of give people some ideas on how to do all that.
And there was a question, being that you guys were just traveling. Any tools for travel you guys have?
My big thing is AirTag your wheelchair. like then you know like where your wheelchair is, because they just take it away from you and you're like, bye legs, bye, and then you have no idea where it is. And so when the plane lands, you see, oh good, it's where I am.
Well, at
So,
least you know,
like yeah,
we did the luggage and the chairs, and we
Yeah.
can make sure everything's on the plane with us.
that's our big thing. But
And then-
Pretty smart.
The other thing is when I go traveling, the one thing I make sure I take is a can you grab my green mug?
Oh, sure.
So I've got like around the house here at the shop, I always have an insulated mug with a good handle that I could,
The insulated mug. He has so many of these. The
old
classic insulated
Aladdin
mug.
mug. But I always they have a smaller version of this, and I always pack one in the suitcase.
Yeah.
Because you get to a hotel, half the time it's either glasses or something very fragile or something that won't work. It's
Yeah, or
nothing
the
that
hand.
You mean a ceramic mug like this?
Yeah, Tom just
Yeah,
does.
Pull off the can.
And the handles
yeah.
on the mugs are like, ugh, they're always so small that you can't get your thumb in there.
Mm-hmm. Anything else for travel? I think
Take your cushion off your chair when you get
Well-
to the plane.
well, yeah, that's
Those are
I don't know.
anything that can
Traveling.
come loose, cushions, side guards, anything like that. I
Yeah,
always
take
tell
off all
people
the stuff
that.
that can come later.
But the AirTag
Cross
thing is a good idea. I never thought about that. That's smart.
Yeah.
But-
I think traveling. We'll bring,
and
shower
then
chair.
the other thing, now that I've been in a chair for 28 years, I have a little gel pad that I put down on, because the mattress is as soft and nice as the mattress is at a hotel. It's still, after, especially if I'm going to be there 2 or 3 days, my little quad skin won't have it. So I've got this really cool gel. Maybe after this I'll look it up on eBay and I can give you guys a link to it.
Yeah.
But it's this really cool like semi-liquid gel. It's 16 by 16, and you put that down between the sheets and the mattress, and it gives you just that extra little bit of cushion.
Dang, Kelly, I need to get that link, man. I need that.
Yeah, shoot it,
Yeah,
send
I've
it
got-
over, and I'll put it in the description for the video and send
Yeah,
it to everybody.
Because I was last couple of years ago, I was having pressure sore issues, and this stuff has literally saved my butt.
Yeah.
I've actually
Well,
got
no, I
like
have this
two.
that's like semi-lipped, and it's really nice because it keeps my hips and my legs kind of more in place in my chair sitting. But it's like made my transfer is a lot more difficult and stuff. But that's what I've been trying to find or imagine, is like a pad or something I can put down, and just that leap between hotel beds specifically can be a little extra gap, so like having something I think is like tantamount to success in transferring. So I think that's really cool. I'd love to get that, or pick your brain in regards to that.
So yeah, awesome.
Awesome.
Lots of great products. So you guys make sure to follow them on Instagram. Check out the website. All the links and stuff are down below in the description. Because Kelly's designing all kinds of really cool products for quad function. Like, so if you have any limited hand dexterity, like go check them out, because there's some really cool. I really like that multi tool, like being able to switch in and out. That's like Tom said. Like I've never really seen that before, where you could do multiple things. So super cool stuff, guys.
And I'm
Thank you.
excited. The Xbox controller is on its way. I'm gonna get my Game Boy, adaptive quad set up for my Xbox controller as soon as it's available. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that too.
If
And
you guys
go
haven't
check
seen
out this stuff.
Tom's Gaming, we actually do have Tom Gaming tomorrow night, 5 p.m. T Fizzle Gaming, and he actually does not use any adaptive stuff at this point. He's just
Yeah.
using the controller and somehow quad paws it all up and does it.
But I play with a lot of individuals that do. I have somebody on almost every time I game. It's using some kind of adaptive tool or tech for their controller. I was injured when I was really young, and I was determined to compete with my brother when we were gaming, and there was nothing available at the time. So I found a way through will and a few hundred hours of practice to make it work. But I love trying out cool, innovative stuff like that, because I know it's very transformative for other individuals. I too have experienced like seeing somebody play for the first time and kind of that joy and like, man, I didn't even realize I could do this, you know? So the more people I could help like show and inspire to get back into a cool, fun activity like that, you know, it's like something that I really enjoy. So definitely excited to check it out more and maybe even get my hands on one to try it on stream. For sure.
Yeah, no, that's
Excellent.
it.
I can
And
make
yeah,
that happen
Kelly,
for sure. Yeah.
you should hop on and game with Tom maybe if he ever available on the Wednesday evenings.
Yeah,
Yeah,
A quad could talk about
we're
some
gonna
quad
be
gaming technique.
we're gonna be camping, we're gonna be cooking. You're never gonna be off the Loop Troll channel, Kelly. I'm just kidding.
yeah.
You're like gaming while you cook. You're
Yes.
like, what? Yeah.
We'll have the virtual cooking or something.
Virtual cooking. Oh, nice. There you go.
All right, I'm going to do just a quick, we are getting a little bit long here, but I'm going to do a quick run through of the shows. Like we said, we got T-Fizzle Gaming going on tomorrow night, tomorrow evening. Thursday, we have the ladies coming on with Wheel Girl Talk coming on with Brianna, Maya, Jessica, Nikki, and Ashley. So make sure to check that out. And then next week, we're back with all new stuff again. We'll have Hell Wills Gaming on the Monday. We will be back, of course, every Tuesday at 3:30 with another awesome topic for you guys. And then again, come back on the Wednesday. And then next Thursday, we'll have Rolling Over the Hill with Bobby, Robert, and Luis talking about aging with a disability and some of the nuances and stuff with that. So lots of great content Monday through Thursday, live streams all week long. So make sure to follow, subscribe, click that bell for notifications. And we appreciate all you guys in the chat. Thank you all for joining, for chatting, just for watching. And we appreciate everybody in the community. And thank you guys, Kelly, Karen, for joining us. We do definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing. And everybody else, make sure you do follow them. Check out all the awesome products that they are coming up with. So check it out. All right, you guys, we will see you next week. Live to roll, everybody.
All right.
Live to roll. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Karen.